Hello and welcome. Today, we are tackling one of the biggest questions out there. What do I really want? You know, it sounds so simple, but getting to the answer, that means learning how to listen to your own inner compass. So let's get into it.
This question, posted by a teenager on a Stoicism forum, it gets right to the heart of everything, doesn't it? It's that feeling of looking around and all the things the world tells you should make you happy, and just wondering if the real answer is hiding somewhere else. Honestly, I think it's a feeling we can all relate to.
And it's no wonder we feel this way. We're trying to navigate what you could call an external maze. It's a world just jam-packed with social media, expectations from everyone, and a million different choices. This whole maze is basically designed to tell us what we should want, and it often just drowns out that quiet little voice that knows what we actually want.
All right, so let's really dig into this modern maze of wants. Why is it so incredibly hard to hear our own inner voice with all this noise going on around us?
Well, the scale of the problem is staggering. Some researchers estimate that up to 99% of our decisions are shaped by things outside of us. Everything from a clever ad we saw to what our friends are doing. Now, external influence isn't always a bad thing, but this shows just how little room we often leave for our own internal voice to even get a word in.
So what's really going on here? First, our brains are literally wired for the quick win. Just anticipating a reward gives us a little hit of dopamine, which feels great, but it can actually weaken our rational thinking, so we end up chasing what's easy, not what's fulfilling. Then, we get trapped by past investments, those sunk costs, and we're in this constant tug-of-war between what we feel inside and all the pressure from the outside.
Okay, so now let's zoom in on two of the biggest mental traps that keep us stuck, just running in circles inside that maze. First up, we've got the sunk cost fallacy. This is that powerful, nagging feeling that we've just invested too much to quit. We've poured in our time, our money, our effort, and walking away feels like we're admitting we failed, even when sticking with it is what's truly making us miserable.
I mean, this says it all, right? Forcing yourself to finish a show you hate just because you're already 3 seasons deep, that is the sunk cost fallacy in a nutshell. And, you know, it applies to much bigger things too. Jobs we can't stand, degrees that just don't fit us, and even relationships that have run their course.
The other big trap is what's called extrinsic motivation. This is when we do things not for the pure joy of doing them, but to get something else, a reward, a good grade, or maybe to avoid getting in trouble. It's the classic carrot and stick approach. And while, yeah, it can work in the short term, it almost never leads to that deep, lasting sense of fulfillment.
Please like and subscribe to the channel. This is very important for the channel development.
Okay, so we've mapped out the maze. We see the traps. How in the world do we find our way out? Well, the good news is we already have the tool we need. We just have to learn how to actually use it, our inner compass. Modern psychology gives us a fantastic map called self-determination theory. It says that for us to really feel a sense of well-being, we all have 3 universal needs. First, autonomy, that feeling of being in the driver's seat of our own lives. Second, competence, the need to feel like we're good at things and can master challenges. And third, relatedness, our deep need to connect with other people. When those 3 things are in balance, we tend to flourish.
And what's absolutely incredible is that ancient philosophy figured out a very similar map thousands of years ago. The Stoics called their goal eudaimonia, which basically means a state of good spirit or human flourishing. And for them, this had nothing to do with external stuff like money or fame. It was all about building a virtuous inner character that couldn't be shaken no matter what was happening on the outside.
And this is where it gets really cool. Check out the overlap. Modern psychology's need for autonomy? That's exactly what the Stoics meant by focusing only on what you can control. Our need for competence? That lines up perfectly with the Stoic virtues of wisdom and courage. And our need for relatedness? Well, that's a perfect match for the Stoic idea of justice, our duty to care for others. So both paths, ancient and modern, point in the exact same direction, inward.
So, modern science and ancient wisdom both agree the compass is already inside us, but how do we actually use it? Let's get really practical here with 5 steps toward clarity that you can start using today.
All right, here they are. First, don't rush. Just pause. Let that initial chemical buzz fade so you can think clearly. Second, act as your best self. Ask yourself, what would the person I admire, the person I want to be, do right now? Third, set your priorities. Literally list out what matters to you and then rank them.
Fourth, be willing to sacrifice sunk costs. Ask that killer question. If I were starting today, would I still make this choice? And finally, number 5, work from the opposite. If you're totally lost, just start by making a list of everything you know for sure you don't want.
And you know that second tip, acting as your best self, that's not some new idea. It's actually an ancient Stoic practice. When they were unsure what to do, they would literally think of a role model, someone they admired, and ask, what would they do? And you can do the exact same thing, whether your hero is a real person or even a fictional character you look up to.
Following these steps is really the beginning of a brand new way of navigating your life. But as we get into this last section, it's so important to remember that this whole thing is a journey, not some final destination.
The goal here isn't to find the one single perfect answer and then lock it in for the rest of your life. No way. The real work is in developing a lifelong practice, a relationship with your own inner compass. It's a practice, not a destination.
So how do you practice this? Not by trying to answer some huge cosmic question. The secret is to start small. Think about it. Your body sends you little signals all day long. I'm thirsty. I'm tired. I'm cold. If we constantly ignore most of these small, simple daily signals, how can we ever expect to hear the big ones about our life's direction?
And as you practice, please remember this quote. Living from a good enough position is much more effective than living from an ideal one. That pressure to find the absolute perfect path can be totally paralyzing. But if you aim for good enough, it frees you up to just be in the process, and that, ironically, often leads to much, much better results.
So if you want to start this journey, right now, tonight, don't ask yourself, what is my grand purpose in life? Instead, ask yourself this very simple question: what do I want for breakfast tomorrow? And don't answer on autopilot or think about what you should eat. Just pause for a second, really listen, and see what your inner compass has to say. That small act of listening, that's where this entire journey truly begins.